Hi, I'm Greg Dell, joined by attorney Stephen Jessup, and we have the opportunity, Stephen, to discuss one of your resolved cases today against Lincoln Financial. It's always great to be able to come and have these success stories because it's a wonderful victory for a claimant, and it also allows other claimants out there and the subscribers to our videos to understand what took place with this Lincoln denial, what did we do to help them win, and they kind of learn from that to put themselves more in the best position to avoid a denial, or if it's someone who's been denied already, they have hope to see for the future that they can get their benefits approved. So walk us through the background of what took place in your case against Lincoln.
Yeah, so this is one of the cases we see a lot. A gentleman had colon cancer, had gone through all of his chemotherapy, radiation, all that, during the process, Lincoln had approved his claim, but then once he gets to that point where there's no evidence of active disease, or they say, hey, you're in remission, then they said, well, there's nothing wrong and that prevents you from working. He had an interesting job. He was the manager of a large resort in Bear Mountain, California, and he was also responsible for the maintenance of a large area of land that this was on. So not only did he have more physical components than you think of someone as a hotel manager, but then also overseeing the operations and having to manage all the people. So he had a lot of stuff going on. The nature of the colon cancer also caused issue with bowel incontinence. And then diagnosed actually with chemotherapy-induced peripheral neuropathy. So initially Lincoln approved his claim, paid him for just under a year, and then had a doctor review it, who basically said, well, I don't see why there'd be anything that would prevent him from being able to, as they deemed it, work in a light-duty occupation. And that's where they initiated the denial.
And can you clarify again, what was his job title?
So he was just, the best part, general manager of a resort. So not even a hotel, but like a resort up in Bear Mountain, California. So it wasn't just one property. As he said, he's like, there's dozens of acres that he has to manage, oversee, go to the different areas and whatnot.
So you've handled hundreds of cases for people who have cancer, and thankfully many people go into remission. But remission, unfortunately, doesn't equal improvement in terms of having all of your functional capabilities back. So what was it about even though he was in remission, what were his disabling symptoms that were preventing him from being able to work?
Fatigue, pain, like I said, the chemo-induced peripheral neuropathy, and then the bowel incontinence, right? He said, and even with respect to in the denial letter itself, where he was presenting in the field interview saying, I have to plan my day around the ability to get to a bathroom because of the nature of the treatment. I have to be, cognizant of that. They wanted to make it more about that and really ignore the aspect of the fatigue and the pain. It's one of those things that when you go through that, chemotherapy, radiation, all that, the treatment has horrendous negative. It's meant to keep you alive. It's not necessarily meant to make you function normal again, if you will. So there was just overlooking that, which is very, very common in most cases where you see where someone had cancer.
Right, and the cancer-induced fatigue is a tremendous side effect, and for some people it does go away. Unfortunately, it can become a permanent side effect that continues, and people can't get over that. They can live a life and have a normal life, but they can't commit to an 8-hour-a-day, 40-hour-a-week job. But what led Lincoln Financial, and what did they rely upon to say, hey, we think you can go back to work, no problems whatsoever?
Just a review of a doctor. They took updated medical, sent it to one of their doctors, performed a peer review. So they didn't examine him. Didn't speak with his treatment providers, just relied on that. And then, with that doctor's limitations, they sent to their vocational department and they go, oh, that seems in line with what the Department of Labor says the physical requirements of the job are.
But I'm seeing this a lot lately. I don't know about you, that the people disabled by cancer, and all the disability carriers, when you get a cancer diagnosis, they're going to pay initially. And while you're undergoing the treatment, they're usually going to continue to pay. But I see this trend now that as soon as they see remission, they're like, benefits over.
You're good. You should be good to go.
And so what did you do to overcome this denial?
One of the biggest things is functional capacity testing. Knowing that there was a level of physical requirements of his job and my discussions with him about, even his daily activities. And like you said, he was a guy that was very outdoors oriented. always out in nature doing things, very physically active. And he's like, I can do, get through a couple things in the morning. I need to take a nap. So I knew that would probably be one of the best ways to be able to establish that he wouldn't be capable of a light duty occupation, because Lincoln is going to go to the lowest common denominator when it comes to determining what the job is, and that's the physical. So we did that, and then we worked with his doctors. His doctors were not happy about the denial. They took it, personally, in the sense that, hey, here's some guy that's never examined their patient or spoken to the treating doctor, but it's basically saying, doctor doesn't know what he's talking about. So the doctors were incredibly supportive. And the language they used in their letters was rather strong. So that was the two key things that we were looking to really work with on it. There could have been some cognitive testing that was done, but for the decision-making and expediting the claim and stuff, we decided to just focus on the physical side, and then, we submitted the appeal. And in this situation, I've been doing this now, with you for over 15 years. Lincoln had an approval letter back within 7 days.
Oh, wow.
7 days. It was the quickest I've ever. I read it, and I reread it. Then I asked my assistant, and I'm like, did you read this the same way? Because I've never seen a turnaround that quick. I do think that this was one of those cases that should have been obvious that he wouldn't be able to work. So I'm happy for him that it got, turned around. And like even he said, they gave me so much grief. I don't think, unless I had an attorney on it, they probably would have continued to deny the case.
Well, credit to Lincoln for at least making a decision in 7 days. And that really comes down to the human being who got that.
The appeals manager who got it and looked at it.
Because it's not the same person. A lot of people don't know that it has to go to someone new. And that person was like, you know what? We made a big mistake on this one. We shouldn't have done that. But was it really a big mistake? In terms of what's going on at Lincoln Financial and many of these other carriers to just basically say, oh, he's in remission. Are they being trained now with these doctors to basically say, if you're in remission, we're going to deny, and then put this huge burden on a person who's like happy to just be alive at that point?
I don't know if they're trained to do it, but you can't help but see it. It reminds me of, like we've talked about, you get a back surgery, they give you a reasonable rate of recovery. Oh, you should have recovered in 6 weeks after this. And then they turn up the heat in trying to deny. And I think that's maybe in similar vein in the way that they're looking at it, is as soon as that there's a quote unquote clean bill of health, all right, well, you're fine. There's nothing else preventing you from working.
But the clean bill of health is that the cancer is not going to kill you.
Exactly. But same thing with the back surgery. Well, you had a back surgery.
You're not going to be paralyzed.
Exactly. They're disregarding the lingering effects of everything that happened.
Do you recall, was this an internal employed doctor who did the review, or was it an external?
It was an internal. It was a DMO. Designated medical officer.
And to me, that's even worse, because that's their own. People have to understand that's their own hired employee who's
complete
on the
inherent
payroll.
Conflict of interest.
On the payroll of Lincoln, who goes, oh, remission, goodbye. It's like nothing for them. It's very frustrating. I know I'm super passionate about these cases, especially the cancer ones, because you go from, oh, I survived, I got this clean bill, I'm in remission, I hope it's going to last, and now I want to get my life back together. And right when you're in that step of saying, I'm going to make a goal towards at least now thinking about life in a positive manner and embracing everything it has to offer and function in a somewhat normal manner, they're like, oh, not only that, but get your ass back to work.
Pull the rug right out.
And you know what? Our client in particular, I know this was a very good client, hardworking client, would love to go back to work. So it's insult upon insult, especially for the client who's like, do you think I really want to be home earning 2/3 or 60% of what I used to earn? Plus, I had to pay attorney's fees as well. It's not a good situation. It's the ultimate slap in the face. It's complete disrespect from Lincoln Financial. Fortunately, you were able to win and get this reversed. It didn't linger on and on and on. So we were able to, because this client was in a dire financial position, so we were able to act quickly and get the benefits reinstated. So that's great. But is all we can do is we're here and we'll keep fighting the battle for claimants. And, the takeaway, we talk about tips for people, is that I know as a cancer patient, you want to get that finding of you're in remission. You want to ring that bell like we see and say, I'm cancer free. And that's the ultimate goal no matter what. You'll take every other side effect you have as long as you know you're cancer free. But you have to also work with the doctors and make sure your medical records are continuing to say, you're having fatigue, you're having pain, you're having, chemo-induced neuropathy, you're having numbness, you're having difficulty committing to a regular schedule or doing things that would be equivalent to a 40-hour work week. You can't just let your guard down. And I think
Exactly.
that could have avoided this denial. I know when we manage claims for clients who contact us, during the claim to manage it, that's the kind of thing we make sure is out there in the medical records so they don't get denied. So congrats on doing an awesome job for this client. Another victory against Lincoln Financial, which is a regular occurrence. We happen to have another case the other day, ironically, that also came back in 7 days. Wasn't a cancer case, but I don't know, maybe Lincoln's giving us a little bit of respect, or maybe they've got something going on where they're looking at them quickly. But I like to hear that we can get something turned around quickly. If you're someone out there with a Lincoln Financial claim, feel free to reach out to Stephen Jessup or myself. No matter where you live in the country, we're here to help you. We always offer a free consultation, and we look forward to discussing your Lincoln Financial claim.